What's up, everyone? Chris Yandel here for Channelfireball.com, and welcome to another edition of Audio Articles, where we bring you articles written by the top Magic the Gathering pros in audio form, so you can listen on the go wherever and whenever you want for free, Monday through Friday. We've also got a lot of really great content on YouTube, so head on over to YouTube and search for Channel Fireball and ring the bell next to the subscribe button. And if you're trying to make it easier to listen to the podcast, ask Siri to play the most recent episode of Channel Fireball's podcast, and you're all set. We're also available on iTunes and Spotify. Today's episode is written by Mike Sigrist. Siggy's going to walk through a Core Set 2019 draft and give us some thoughts about his picks. Thanks for being with us today, and here is Drafting Core Set 2019 with Siggy by Mike Sigrist. While I'm disappointed to say goodbye to one of the best draft formats of all time in Dominaria, I'm excited to get my hands on a fresh one, Core Set 2019. I first dipped my toes into the format with some Magic Online Sealed Deck, and it left a poor taste in my mouth. But after doing a couple of drafts, I actually liked the format quite a bit. This week, I'm going to walk you through one of my first drafts, so let's get started. Pack 1, Pick 1. In this pack, we have Rock's Oracle, Skeleton Archer, Uncomfortable Chill, Onaki Org, Angel of the Dawn, Thornhide Wolves, Infectious Horror, Field Creeper, Epicure of Blood, Child of Night, Psychic Corrosion, Blood Divination, Vampire Sovereign, Hungering Hydra, and Island. In this pack, I'm taking Vampire Sovereign. This is a pretty easy pick for me. Vampire Sovereign outsizes all the common flying creatures, and it has a huge impact in racing situations with a powerful ETB ability. I've had a lot of success in Sealed Deck with black-white life gain style decks, and this is always one of the higher impact cards that can close a game in those archetypes. The rare in this pack, Hungering Hydra, is fine, but putting the same old Ivy Elemental into a new box and calling it something else doesn't make it much better. It's a fine card I'll always play, but it's still just a dopey green fatty that's fairly replaceable. Pick 2. In this pack, we have Field Creeper, Dwarven Priest, Oakenform, Tormenting Voice, Shock, Sure Strike, Infectious Horror, Dwindle, Knight's Pledge, Rock's Oracle, Vine Mare, Draconic Disciple, Lightning Mare, and Submerged Boneyard. Here, I'm going to go with Vine Mare. This creature is totally unreasonable if you can find ways to force it through in combat. Thankfully, there are cards like Arcane Flight at common to make it easy, but you do see Oakenform at common to make it tough to block. If you're up against an opponent that's heavy in black, this creature can go the distance on its own. Hexproof is still dumb and limited, and this is one of the best rate hexproof creatures we've seen in Limited. Draconic Disciple is a nice mana creature that can later turn into a 5/5 dragon, but even if this was pack 1, pick 1, I'd still take the Vine Mare here. Pick 3. In this pack, we have Totally Lost, Goblin Instigator, Frilled Sea Serpent, Smelt, Manolith, Oresco's Swiftclaw, Rabid Bite, Hired Blade, Bone to Ash, Skyrider Patrol, Tectonic Rift, Cleansing Nova, and Woodland Stream. Here I'm taking Cleansing Nova. This was an agonizing pick for me. There were 3 cards I considered taking here: Cleansing Nova, Skyrider Patrol, and Rabid Bite. On the one hand, Rabid Bite is a single color, solid removal spell, especially with the pair of cards I have now. On the other hand, Skyship Patrol is bonkers with Vine Mare, and lastly, Cleansing Nova is a sweeper effect in a slowish limited format. I've been impressed with Cleansing Nova when I've seen it as both a Wrath of God effect and as a way to clean up enchantments and artifacts. The card is incredibly flexible, which is why I ended up taking it here. I also like to take rares early in draft formats to get more experience with them in case I see them in a higher stakes spot, like an upcoming Grand Prix. I'm still not sure what pick is correct here, but I think I can rule out Rabid Bite, and it's still close between Skyrider Patrol and Cleansing Nova, mostly backed up by the fact that I have Vine Mare already. If it were pack 1, pick 1, I'd definitely take Cleansing Nova here. Pick 4. In this pack, we have Wall of Vines, Centaur Courser, Alpine Moon, Luminous Bonds, Rustwing Falcon, Gearsmith Guardian, Thornhide Wolves, Cancel, Duress, Ruptured Spire, Crucible of Worlds, and Island. Here I'm going to take Luminous Bonds. Luminous Bonds is a solid removal spell, and there's not much else here. It's a shame that my Cleansing Nova gets a little worse because its second mode is much worse when you have a Luminous Bond in play. But there are situations where you can hold it for specifically artifact creatures and still get the full value out of Cleansing Nova. Pick 5. Salvager of Secrets, Rock's Oracle, Smelt, Take Vengeance, Knight of the Tusk, Hired Blade, Revitalize, Gallant Cavalry, Ether Tunnel, Meteor Golem, and Mountain. Here I'm going to take the Meteor Golem. Meteor Golem is an expensive version of Ravenous Chupacabra, but it also hits all types of permanents and is still a reasonably sized body attached to a removal spell. In some formats, Meteor Golem is going to be too slow, but I haven't found that to be the case in this particular format. I'm always pretty happy to pick it up. I'm not very high on Take Vengeance as it doesn't help me get creatures through, and I found the white decks can be brick-walled a lot, so having a removal spell that can't push creatures through in combat isn't effective a lot of the time. Pick 6. Root Snare, Trumpet Blast, Field Creeper, Tormenting Voice, Thornhide Wolves, Goblin Motivator, Uncomfortable Chill, Aegis of the Heavens, Gasbark Twins, and Swamp. Gasbark Twins it is. So I just took a 7-drop, and now I'm taking another? Well, the choices in this pack are all replacement level unless I want to dip my toes into another color for a mediocre card like Tormenting Voice. I haven't really been pleased with Aegis of the Heavens, as I find it usually much worse than Mighty Leap, which can do some of the last few points of damage to an opponent, and Thornhide Wolves is extremely replaceable. I've also found that with Druid of the Cowl and Elvis Rejuvenator at common, it's much easier to cast expensive cards in a green deck than usual. Pick 7. Plummet, Gearsmith Guardian, Smelt, Oresco Swiftclaw, Mighty Leap, Two-Headed Zombie, Knight of the Tusk, Alpine Moon, Swamp. Here I'm going to take Oresco Swiftclaw. This is a curve filler pick that I wish I didn't have to make. While the format is still reasonably slow, it's nice to have a creature to cast on turn 2 so that you can deal some quick damage or trade with an opponent's early play. Oresco Swiftclaw can also trade up with some creatures on defense, so I'm fine picking up a 2-drop here, but I hope to improve with some better 2-drops down the road. Plummet is a card I'd love to take here and potentially should have. It's a top-tier sideboard card against a bottom-level playable, but early in drafts I tend to make safer picks. Pick 8. Highland Game, Epicure of Blood, Frilled Sea Serpent, Loxodon Linebreaker, Explosive Apparatus, Doublecast, Stitcher Supplier, and Forest. Here I'm going to take Explosive Apparatus. Apparatus is a card I'm not usually excited to play outside of artifact synergies, but with a Meteor Golem already and an Explosive Apparatus, I can start considering Trusty Pack Beast if I pick one up. While this isn't a great thing to be doing, it's something to be doing. The opportunity cost is only a Highland Game, a card I'm never excited to play in this format. Pick 9. Uncomfortable Chill, Anaki Org, Thornhide Wolves, Infectious Horror, Field Creeper, Epicure of Blood, Island. Here I'm going to take Thornhide Wolves. Wolves is a vanilla 5-drop I'm not excited about and I don't love to play, but there's nothing else here in green-white for me. I briefly considered taking the Epicure of Blood in case I switched into Black Pack 2. It's not that I love playing Epicure of Blood, but if I switch into Black, I may be struggling for playables where I'm unlikely to need them for a green-white deck, and the Thornhide Wolves will often end up in my sideboard. I stick to my guns, and I take Thornhide Wolves in case I get a fair amount of ramp or a card like Colossal Majesty where I'd want it. Pick 10. Field Creeper, Dwarven Priest, Tormenting Voice, Sure Strike, Infectious Horror, Knight's Pledge. Here I'm going to take Dwarven Priest. This was just a bad pick. At the time, I was thinking that I could be a mid-range deck trying to stabilize and plan my 7-drops, but I think I should have just taken Knight's Pledge in case I turned into an Aura deck with Vinemare and cards like Druid of the Horns or Satyr Enchanter. Dwarven Priest is much worse in the deck I'm describing than Giant Spider, so it's unlikely to end up in my deck. Pick 11. Totally Lost, Frilled Sea Serpent, Smelt, Oresco Swiftclaw, Woodland Stream. Here I took the Woodland Stream. While I briefly considered Oresco Swiftclaw here, it would be a shame if I missed out on a good splash with Arcades the Strategist because I didn't take a land when I could. I'm still short on 2-drops, but I'm hoping to get another 2 or 3 in the last 2 packs. Pick 12. Wall of Vines, Cancel, Duress, and Island. Here I take Duress just in case I switch into Black. Pick 13. Smelt, Revitalize, Mountain. Revitalize. Unexciting, but you can put this card in your deck if you're short on cards and it's fine. Pick 14. Root Snare and Swamp. Here I take Root Snare and the last pick Swamp. So after pack 1, I'm likely green-white, but there's a chance that I might dip into another color for a busted rare or something. My deck is very top-heavy, so I need to focus on filling in the curve a little better. Pack 2, pick 1. Explosive Apparatus, Abnormal Endurance, Invoke the Divine, Tormenting Voice, Catalyst Elemental, Aven Wind Mage, Naturalize, Lich's Caress, Two-Headed Zombie, Daggerback Basilisk, Exclusion Mage, Stitcher Supplier, Psychic Symbiont, Goreclaw, Terror of Clawsisma, and Mountain. Here I take Goreclaw. While I love me a Psychic Symbiont, Goreclaw Terror of Clawsisma is an excellent 4-drop that can not only hit hard, it also ramps big creatures while giving them trample and an attacking bonus as well. It's easy to kill Goreclaw, but when you don't, it can be a real problem. Pick 2. Infectious Horror, Abnormal Endurance, Uncomfortable Chill, Hired Blade, Doomed Dissenter, Knight's Pledge, Crash Through, Divination, Rock's Oracle, Omnispeaker, Draconic Disciple, Thud, Horizon Scholar, and Plains. Here I went with Rock's Oracle. Rock's Oracle is better than Thornhide Wolves, as I'd much prefer to draw another card and have a few more toughness in most cases. There's not much else here for me except potentially a Horizon Scholar. I did pick up that Woodland Stream, which would make it easier to splash, and had the Rock's Oracle actually been a Thornhide Wolves, it's what I'd take in this pack. Again, Draconic Disciple is sweet, but it's also not the kind of card I want to splash because it's best when you cast it early and is extremely slow if you cast it late, just to eventually make a 5/5. Pick 3. Dwarven Priest, Scholar of Stars, Cavalry Drillmaster, Uncomfortable Chill, Colossal Dreadmaw, Infectious Horror, Vishinu Pyromancer, Crash Through, Duress, Pegasus Courser, Fountain of Renewal, Infernal Reckoning, and Mountain. Here I went with Pegasus Courser. Pegasus Courser is an excellent way to push my big green creatures through in the air. I like Fountain of Renewal in almost every deck as it replaces itself and can give you a fair amount of life on turn 1, but it's not great without a card like a Johnny's Pridemate to synergize with it. Cavalry Drillmaster is a solid 2-drop that I'd happily play, but Pegasus Courser is just the type of card I need as a cheap blocker that can also help me push damage. Pick 4. Gearsmith Prodigy, Doomed Dissenter, Mind Rot, Goblin Instigator, Vishinu Pyromancer, Titanic Growth, Scholar of the Stars, Snapping Drake, Vampiric Neonate, Colossal Majesty, Aegis of the Heavens, and Island. Here I took Colossal Majesty. Colossal Majesty is a rare way to get card advantage out of green decks, and with cards like Vinemare, it's just incredible. Now I have a way to churn through my deck in stalled games and find ways to close out the game. Titanic Growth is a card I'd be happy to play, but it's nowhere near the level of drawing an extra card a turn. Pick 5. Salvager of Secrets, Wall of Vines, Abnormal Endurance, Two-Headed Zombie, Divination, Talons of Wildwood, Act of Treason, Root Snare, Blanchwood Armor, Isareth the Awakener, and Meandering River. Here I took Blanchwood Armor. Isareth the Awakener this late is a sad sight to see, and I'm not in love with Blanchwood Armor, but I already have a Vinemare, and it helps with Colossal Majesty in ways so I'm fine picking it up here. I don't find Blanchwood Armor to be all that much better than Oakenform usually, but they're both cards I'd play here. Pick 6. Infectious Horror, Act of Treason, Revitalize, Highland Game, Invoke the Divine, Goblin Motivator, Dwarven Priest, Hired Blade, A Johnny's Welcome, and Forest. Here I went with Highland Game. I'm still worried about not having any early plays, so I take Highland Game over Invoke the Divine here. The pack I opened also has Naturalize and an Invoke the Divine, so I'm hoping to pick one of those up on the wheel. Pick 7. Skymarch Bloodletter, Dwarven Priest, Lava Axe, Plummet, Frilled Sea Serpent, Bristling Boar, Aviation Pioneer, Novice Knight, and Timber Gorge. Here I went with Bristling Boar. Another 4-power creature to go with Goreclaw and Colossal Majesty. Happy to take it over Plummet here. Pick 8. Act of Aggression, Hired Blade, Macabre Waltz, Revitalize, Scholar of Stars, Frilled Sea Serpent, Diagraph Ghoul, and Island. Here I took the Revitalize. Small mistake here. I should have just taken Macabre Waltz in case I get a bunch of free lands in the last pack, and I want to sideboard it in against a controlling deck. Active Treason here is a fine hate draft as well, and outside of a league, likely what I would have taken. Pick 9. Abnormal Endurance, Invoke the Divine, Tormenting Voice, Two-Headed Zombie, Stitcher Supplier, Psychic Symbiont, and Mountain. Here I took the Invoke the Divine. It's nice to pick up one of the enchantment or artifact removal spells that I open, but seeing Psychic Symbiont here is insane. I'd strongly consider taking it at the Pro Tour because I don't like giving opponents cards this powerful on the cheap. It's likely that no one is blue-black because they'd have taken it already, but this is a format where splashing is fairly easy, so this is the type of spot where you should consider hate drafting when playing in a pod. Pick 10. Infectious Horror, Abnormal Endurance, Hired Blade, Knight's Pledge, Crash Through, and Plains. Here I took the Knight's Pledge. There's nothing here for me, and though I'm unlikely to play it, I may consider it if I pick up another Vinemare or some Aura's Matter cards. Pick 11. Dwarven Priest, Infectious Horror, Crash Through, Fountain of Renewal, and Mountain. Here I went with the Fountain of Renewal. I'm perfectly happy to play this if I need a playable, but not excited about it. It does make me want to consider Trusty Pack Beast a little more in the next pack. Pick 12. Doomed Dissenter, Mind Rot, Vampire Neonate, and Island. Here I took the Vampire Neonate. Pick 13, Abominable Endurance, Two-Headed Zombie, and Root Snare. I took Abominable Endurance. Pick 14, Revitalize and Forest. I took Revitalize, and I got a last pick, Novice Knight. Not a bad last pick, and one that I'd consider playing if I play my auras or pick up an equipment. I'm firmly into green-white at this point. On to Pack 3, Pick 1. Uncomfortable Chill, Luminous Bonds, Tolarian Scholar, Frilled Sea Serpent, Infectious Horror, Vishino Pyromancer, Aven Windmage, Sky Scanner, Strangling Spores, Daggerback Basilisk, Ruptured Spire, Millstone, Plague Mare, Mentor of the Meek, and Foul Orchard. Here I went with Luminous Bonds. I struggle with this pick a lot. Mentor of the Meek is definitely the better card, but at this point in the draft, I have so few cards that even trigger the Mentor, and I'm incentivized to try and take bigger creatures with Colossal Majesty anyways. I'm also short on removal, so I take the Luminous Bonds here, and I'm really confident I made the correct choice. Pick 1, Pack 1, I definitely take Mentor of the Meek though. Pick 2. Hostile Minotaur, Cavalry Drillmaster, Monolith, Onaki Ord, Frilled Sea Serpent, Act of Treason, Naturalize, Explosive Apparatus, Bog Stomper, Divination, Gravedigger, Vinemare, Inferno Hellion, and Mountain. Here I went with the Vinemare. Another Vinemare here means that I can start to strongly consider more auras in my deck, and it's just great to have another creature that's impossible to remove with the Colossal Majesty. My deck is shaping up quite nicely now. Pick 3. Giant Spider, Wall of Mist, Invoke the Divine, Elvish Rejuvenator, Strangling Spores, Cancel, Anticipate, Vishino Pyromancer, Gearsmith Guardian, Salvager of Secrets, Skyrider Patrol, Dragon Egg, and Submerged Boneyard. Here I went with Elvish Rejuvenator. While I have the Woodland Stream and the 2 Vinemare for the Skyrider Patrol, my curve is a little high. Having an Elvish Rejuvenator can fill the gap in quite nicely as both a creature that can block a cheap 1 toughness creature while also ramping to my big plays. If the circumstances were a little different, I'd consider taking the Skyrider Patrol here, but as it is, I want the Rejuvenator. Pick 4. Oresco Swiftclaw, Child of Night, Crash Through, Plummet, Cavalry Drillmaster, Mighty Leap, Centaur Courser, Loxodon Linebreaker, Fountain of Renewal, Aethershield Artificer, Hieromancer's Cage, and Mountain. Here I pick up the Hieromancer's Cage. It's an incredibly late pickup here. Hieromancer's Cage may make my Cleansing Nova a little worse, but it's still a premium all-purpose removal spell. Cleansing Nova will definitely still make my deck, but it has gotten a lot worse. It's still a unique effect in Limited that can swing games. Pick 5. Skeleton Archer, Trusty Pack Beast, Cavalry Drillmaster, Daybreak Chaplain, Goblin Motivator, Smelt, Oakenform, Talons of Wildwood, Thud, Remorseful Cleric, and Forest. Here I take the Remorseful Cleric. While the activated ability on Remorseful Cleric isn't super potent and limited, it's nice to have a 2-mana 2-drop evasive creature, and my deck is short on 2-drops as it is. It's worth noting that the activated ability isn't useless as it can counter a Macabre Waltz or trigger the ability of a Salvager of Secrets. Oakenform is a card my deck could likely play here. but I don't need to go overboard on making my Vine Mares good. I'd much prefer have a solid deck outside of them and play the 2 auras I already have. Pick 6. Elvish Rejuvenator, Crash Through, Cavalry Drillmaster, Scholar of Stars, Bog Stomper, Dwarven Priest, Gargoyle Sentinel, Girapur Guide, Reclamation Sage, and Swamp. Here I take the Reclamation Sage. While I don't necessarily want to main deck Invoke the Divine, I don't mind main decking Reclamation Sage. There are a ton of random artifacts and enchantments floating around, so even just hitting a Thopter token makes Reclamation Sage a playable card. This is a solid pack this late, and I considered taking Gargoyle Sentinel or Elvish Rejuvenator, but I think the upside of Reclamation Sage is so high that I think it's worth taking here and main decking comfortably. Pick 7. Elvish Rejuvenator, Fire Elemental, Abnormal Endurance, Totally Lost, Catalyst Elemental, Mighty Leap, Declare Dominance, Draconic Disciple, and Plains. Here I took Elvish Rejuvenator, another ramp creature from my high-end cards. My deck is turning into quite the nice mid-range control deck that can easily play the 2 7-drops that I had in Pack 1. I'm missing Druid of the Cowl as my 2-drops, but I'm pretty pleased with my deck at this point. Pick 8. Cancel, Field Creeper, Infectious Horror, Invoke the Divine, Centaur Courser, Bristling Boar, Make a Stand, and Submerge Boneyard. Here we take the Centaur Courser. Centaur Courser is just a curve filler here, but I like it in this format. It's hard to brick off Centaur Courser, and it blocks a lot of the relatively small ground creatures as well. While Bristling Boar works better with my 4-power Matters cards, I want to take the Centaur Courser to make sure I'm casting cards before turn 4. Make a Stand is cute with Cleansing Nova and fine with Vine Mare, but I don't really think this is the deck for it. Pick 9. Uncomfortable Chill, Tolarian Scholar, Frilled Sea Serpent, Infectious Horror, Aven Windmage, Ruptured Spire, and Foul Orchard. Here I picked up the Ruptured Spire. I'm not going to play it, but it could prevent someone else from splashing and covers more splashes than Foul Orchard. Pick 10. Onaki Ord, Active Treason, Naturalize, Bog Stomper, Inferno Hellion, and Mountain. Here I picked up the Naturalize. I'm unlikely to play all my copies of this effect, but it's there if I need it. Pick 11. Giant Spider, Invoke the Divine, Cancel, Gearsmith Guardian, and Submerged Boneyard. Here I went with the Giant Spider. I'm definitely not going to main deck this because I want all of my later plays to be 4-drops. But this is an excellent sideboard card against the common flying creatures of the format. I'll happily sideboard this in to slow the game down against some Snapping Drakes and such. Pick 12. Oresco Swiftclaw, Crash Through, Mighty Leap, and Mountain. Here I went with the Mighty Leap. A combat trick in case I want one. I really don't want to play another Oresco Swiftclaw, but may want a Mighty Leap to push the Vine Mares through. Pick 13. Trusty Pack Beast, Daybreak Chaplain, and Forest. I took the Daybreak Chaplain. I spent all that time talking about how I could play a Trusty Pack Beast if I wanted to, and then didn't even take the relatively free one. Daybreak Chaplain is a decent creature against aggressive decks that could hold down several small creatures. Since my curve is fairly high, I'd much prefer the Roadblock creature here, and I'm not planning on playing the Pack Beast package anyways. Daybreak Chaplain also wears a Blanchwood armor really well. Pick 14. Dwarven Priest and Swamp. I took the Dwarven Priest, and I got a last pick Plains. For a look at how Siggy's deck turned out, head over to channelfireball.com and click on this article. I ended up playing some mediocre playables like Knight's Pledge and Daybreak Chaplain, but the deck played out well, and I did manage to earn a trophy with this deck. I struggled some with the blue decks countering all my big creatures since I had very few ways to get underneath them, but was able to stick a Vine Mare usually and ride it to victory. My initial impression of Core Set 2019 was it would be a format I rarely played because the sealed format felt swingy. But after drafting the set, I'm having a ton of fun with it, and if you're on the fence, I highly recommend it. That does it for this episode of Audio Articles. Make sure to head over to channelfireball.com and leave Mike a comment about what you thought about today's article, or you can hit him up on Twitter at msigrist83. Also, make sure to check out cfpevents.com. You'll find all the information about the upcoming GPs there. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for being with us today, and I hope to see you soon. And until then, peace.